Okay, so our second gin is the Three Pugs gin. This is the blackcurrant gin. It's distilled in Warrington actually, which is just 5 minutes down the road. So both the gins we've had today have been local. Again, it's a bit different. Yeah. It's just, it's a blackcurrant gin. The basil and the orange in it really brings out the flavour of the blackcurrant. It's what I really like it. It's lovely.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
Unusual.
Fruity.
But really nice.
Not gone for the straws this time, preference. So what do you think? Good?
Yeah.
I would say that's nicer than the first one we had.
You think? Yeah.
Seems unusual to see a gin this colour.
Yeah, so you see some gins, so a lot of these coloured gins are like slow gins, but this is actually a normal gin. It's just coloured because of the blackcurrant botanicals that go into it.
Is it a flavouring, or do they actually infuse it with blackcurrants?
I believe it's an infusion of blackcurrants, and then they sort of put a bit more flavour in it. So a lot of gins nowadays sort of take the botanicals and they distill it with the botanicals with it, but then they also add a bit of flavour to it just so you can really taste what's supposed to be in there.
It's really strong, that blackcurrant flavour. Yeah. It's really unusual.
It's really nice.
Yeah, good.
Are they?
Yeah.
So we were just chatting about kind of acquisition of data from your side, Adam.
Yeah.
I guess that's the one thing. It's getting the data in. Then there's no point having it if you're just going to sit there with it. And that's where you come in, Ed, isn't it? You kind of work really closely in tandem with each other. Yep. So now Adam's giving you access to the data. Mm-hmm. It goes to Qbase and Jack, and we do some magic with it on our side and then send it back to you. Is that about right?
Yeah,
and
that's
then
right. Yeah.
You can fill your boots with that. What are you doing with that data then? What's your kind of current strategy with that data?
Yeah, so we're trying to assist the business with making high-level decisions and strategic decisions, as well as also helping people to make smaller decisions with ad hoc insight and stuff like that. Right. So in general, what we tend to produce is things like dashboards, which show us the key KPIs and how those things are changing. So we'll look at things like retention of our customers. We'll look at things like acquisition of our customers. We'll look at what sort of categories they're buying into, what sort of channels they're using, how all these things come together
to
give
quite
us
a lot,
real good
actually,
picture.
When you think about it.
Yeah, and what gets more exciting is when you look at their engagement and you try and model out what kind of things they might want. So you look at like propensity modeling, for example, to say the customer is likely to do X, Y, Z based on all of these different things. Wow. So we might look at the fact that they're near a store and they might behave differently. We might look at the fact that they're visiting our website quite regularly. A good example of something we might find is that they're a lapsed customer, so they haven't been buying for us for quite a while, but they've actually been browsing our website quite regularly, and that gives us an opportunity to talk to that customer again, maybe in a different way because they're engaged with us, but they haven't been purchasing. So maybe we're not doing something quite right for that customer.
Yeah. And it's quite key. Sorry, go on.
So it's like that website data that's the key to that analysis as well. And I think that the magic that you mentioned before, Neil, that happens over at Qbase, just to put a bit of finer detail on that, is so we combine all these data sources that you have, your web data, you've got your customer and your transactional data, and we bring all that together in essence, like I said earlier, a single customer view that you then can use and use to do this analysis. And it's really important to be able to do that.
Yeah, and I think that actually the landscape of the customer has changed quite significantly because if you've got the online and offline presence and you can pull that in, you actually start to really understand the subtleties within the customer, and that is kind of key because that's the insight sort of element, really.
Yeah, the more data we can get, the more stuff we can see. So we might be able to see that they're returning our products. We might be able to see that they're clicking on our emails. We might be able to see that they've had a failed delivery or a failed collection, and therefore they might need a bit more, talking to. If we bring in the feedback that they've left, we can see NPS scores and stuff like that, and understand their customer satisfaction. And we can do all sorts of stuff when we have all that data at our fingertips.
Well, we were chatting earlier in the week. Jack found an article on the way that Netflix personalizes it. Personalizes the experience using data. So you know that on your Netflix account, you've probably got an image of a film or a movie or a TV show that you've watched. Depending on your browsing history, what's sitting underneath that image changing is your browsing history. So if you've watched more horror films, there'll be a more horror kind of image sitting in there. I kind of find that amazing, but a bit creepy at the same time, but because I'm afraid of horror movies. But the data sitting behind it is looking at what you've done in the past and then changing the journey on the front end, which goes back to what kind of Jack was saying about that website data. Really important to bring together, not just from a website journey isolated in a website journey, but everything that you've done.
Yeah, and that's the exciting part about the customer data.
Yeah.
That it really is. And whilst you might say it's quite creepy, because we're kind of relatively new to getting that data and understanding that, it's actually, from my point of view, really quite exciting when you start putting all these different facets in,
Hugely
saying
exciting.
actually that's what is shaping that customer.
And to be honest, the customer's probably getting used to that kind of thing. So if you think about Facebook, you think about Amazon, you think about Netflix, as you just brought up, all of these things are leveraging kind of machine learning, and they're leveraging AI to kind of make suggestions to you, and customers must be getting more used to that now.
Yeah.
So people know that they're being targeted with relevant offers within Amazon.
Well, I underplayed it slightly and made a joke of it, but actually, when you go back to kind of your key objectives about customer first, and I read an article from Klaus about getting closer to customers to understand what they want, that kind of hyper personalization and using the data to give them that what they want when they want it in the right channel is really important, particularly, and that's why I guess really exciting for you guys to be at the helm of that. And,
customers are probably looking for us to help them with what to choose.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In quite a lot of cases, they might not know what they don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
This bar, for example, might not know that we sell glasses, and we might have a much better offer or something that's much more relevant to them than one of our competitors, for example. You know? So to put that in front of them and to understand that's what they need and that's what they should be buying, then we can help them with that.
You mentioned models. I know you're heavily involved in building models. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you're using them at the minute?
Yeah, sure. So actually, we've put them into our segmentation to vastly simplify our segmentation. So what we used to do is we used to just look at the recency, the frequency, and the monetary value of the customer, and only really consider their value to Nisbets. Now, what we want to understand further is their potential value to us. We want to understand how we can grow that customer, and whether we need to nurture them, whether we need to invest in them, whether we just service them and leave them alone because actually they only wanted to buy from us once, or whether there's someone that we need to protect and we need to retain. So what we've done is we've pushed several different models into a potential y-axis and scored them up to say, this one's really high potential, this one's really low potential, which helps us with obviously resource allocation. We still do a lot of mailings, for example, which is quite high cost. We also need to decide who we talk to with our sales reps and stuff like that. So it's really helping us drive the decisions on how we talk to people, which ultimately sounds like it's just all about sales. And obviously it is about sales. It's also about how we serve the customer. Because if you are a service customer who is, showing that you're very lowly engaged and that you've only really come in for that one order, potentially you also want to be left alone. So, it kind of helps with that whole engagement piece as well.
And have you got any results that you can share with us with those things at the moment?
Yeah, we've applied it to our catalogue testing, and we've actually managed to figure out that we can get significantly better ROI from some segments than we can from others. So it's really helped us drive who we actually send our catalogues to. And obviously you get like your preference centers, and you get, I want this catalog, I don't want that catalog, and all those options are still available to the customer. But it just helps us not to waste our money on that resource, with sustainability and print production and all that kind of stuff. So we want to make sure you're doing it right.
There's an environmental impact because you're sending less DMs, but there's also a customer impact, which means you're not wasting resource or cost on that. But then the ROI you're seeing back, the value you're deriving back is much bigger because you're saying, here's something at the right time that you might want.
They're also more likely to look at it, aren't they? Because they're not having to scan through like 10, 12 pages of what, stuff they're not interested in.
Yeah, exactly. If you're one of these service customers that we scored them up as, so you're low value and you're low potential, chances are we're dropping that quite big catalogue through your doorstep, and it's just an inconvenience to you. You're picking it up and you're putting it straight in the bin. That's not good for the environment.
And how does that work with our QDP then, Jack, in terms of models and segmentation?
So the QDP, what it does is it's essentially a data lake in the center of it all, and which holds all these different kinds of data, unstructured likewise. And what you can do is you can put real-time analysis on this data lake. So as opposed to a snapshot of data that you might be profiling and modeling with, you can put real-time analysis on the data lake and have real-time models, I guess. And like you mentioned machine learning before. And machine learning is great, but if you can get it in real time as well, then you're working in line with the customer. If they've just dropped a basket and not bought anything from you, then you can go back to them instantly and say, was there something that we could do better? Can we help you in any other way? And you can have all this reporting, like SciSense can be built onto this data lake, and provide really detailed reports at the touch of a button.
Yeah, these insights that we pull from the data are critical. They're what help us make our decisions and what moves our business forward. And we keep mentioning the customer, and it is what helps us serve them better. So the more of that kind of stuff that we can get, you've mentioned SciSense there, the more stuff that we can get to pull insights for us and spend less of our precious resource time trying to get to that information, the better that we're going to do.
Well, then you can just focus on actually like looking at the reports and doing the analysis on the reports and sort of projecting that to the relevant department.
Yeah, and it's also that level above as well, because now we've got managers and people responsible for who actually want that information much quicker. So it's not the case that we're now waiting 2 or 3 days to produce reports. It's a day or two, or it will be real time, and therefore that allows the business at a much higher level to make quick decisions. Is that working? Is it not working? Okay, well, let's save the costs here and move on to here.
And you've got a culture that pivots really quickly as well, haven't you? So I guess that on-demand information, business information and management information is super important, so you can make that pivot. What are the 3 challenges you've got right now in terms of data?
So I would say it's one version of the truth. So when we're talking about QDPs and we're talking about data lakes and all that sort of stuff, we're not quite there yet. We need to work with you, and we need to get to that position so that we don't have conflicting stories and silos. I would say the digital transformation thing is a big thing for us, and we need to try and get people to buy in. Our sales force, for example, aren't necessarily pushing people to the website when they should be, because that's a good way of serving the customer.
And I guess that single customer view, then the digital transformation, getting all that data together, that's kind of key.
Yeah, absolutely. And like we say, that's we're kind of really just entering into that sort of phase. The abilities and the tools we now have, have opened up, if you like, our eyes to the types of information we can get to and how we can sort of try and use it.
And then the third thing would literally just be how we diffuse this information. What can we put in place to automate? What can we put in place to get that information across to people in the most simple way possible, so that people can understand it and quickly take it in? Almost self-serving would be quite useful if we can get to it.
Well, I think gone are the days where you basically send out a 4 meg email with an Excel document on saying all the information's in here. Draw what you want from it. Now it's about here's the data's already been done. This is what the visual shows you, and this is why we're doing it all. Where do we want to go, really?
Brilliant. Well, thanks very much for the conversation, guys. Really good to see you again. Good to catch up. Well, cheers. I hope you enjoyed the latest edition of Gin and Data by Qbase. A big thanks go to Danielle and Jamie for letting us use Gin and Alley in Stockton Heath. If you do get a chance, it's a really nice place, good atmosphere, and I'm sure you'll get a nice gin here as well. A big thanks to Adam and Ed as well, telling us all about how they use data to help Nisbets grow. A big thanks also to Jack and for his contribution today and telling us all about how he handles data on behalf of Nisbets and for his great tasting gin. If you've liked the video, please do like, share and subscribe. And for now, we'll see you in the next episode of Gin and Data by Qbase.